Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Monday, October 5th. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, while addressing the nation last night, providing an update on the government's ongoing comprehensive efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. He warned that 1 in every 100 residents of New Providence is now infected with COVID-19, and the country is averaging 1 death per day. Dr. Minnis also warned that the virus is nowhere near exhausted. Dr. Minnis adds that the major problems faced when it comes to the pandemic is on New Providence, where cases remain at an elevated level, adding that the elevated numbers in the capital mirror the current challenges countries face worldwide managing the virus. The Prime Minister noted that he has met with the Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization representative to the Bahamas, Dr. Esther de Gorval, along with the government's health consultant, Dr. Mercelin Dalregis, to discuss the current status of COVID-19 in the Bahamas. Dr. Minnis says while they are encouraged by the progress on Grand Bahama and the majority of the family islands, he says the restrictive measures currently in place are not achieving the desired results for New Providence and Abaco.
There are many in our society who are truly in need. I read that testimonial to ask people who are not truly in need and who have begun to receive income into their respective homes to not take the food or vouchers from this program. Please allow the limited resources of the government and the generous private donors to go further to meet the needs of those who need during this time.
Dr. Hubert Minnis also announcing that unemployment benefits and the National Food Program will be extended to the end of December.
As we collectively continue the fight against COVID-19, the government also continues its efforts to help to support the most vulnerable in our society. As announced earlier this week by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the government has made available an additional $45 million for these purposes. In particular, government-funded unemployment benefits will continue through December. Additionally, $10 million have been allocated for a second phase of the National Food Program to the end of December.
Additionally, $10 million has been allocated for a second phase of the National Food Program. Dr. Minnis recalling the recent testimonial of someone who has been out of work and without income for the first time in 40 years and is grateful for the assistance. As for what else the government is doing to assist in this fight, the Prime Minister also announced that the government's Economic Recovery Committee has completed their substantive research and consultative work. It's reported that the ERC and its subcommittees consulted with 60 companies and organizations and had over 300 submissions sent in.
Some of the areas covered in the report of the Economic Recovery Committee include ideas around the establishment of independently managed national fund that can better mobilize private and public sector resources to fuel the rapid, inclusive, and sustained development of all islands of our Great Bahamas. A call for a targeted and focused increase in the contribution of agriculture and fisheries as a share of the country's economic output, or GDP, in order to move steadily toward greater food security. An increase in the resources available for Bahamian entrepreneurs and small businesses, including the establishment of a national digital marketplace and the creation of small business incubators.
The recommendations also offer ideas related to the economic revitalization of Grand Bahama and the family islands, a greater focus on the orange or creative economy, as well as reforms related to education and labor, among many other areas. In response to the Prime Minister's national address yesterday, opposition leader Philip Brave Davis says the PLP is disappointed that the PM is blaming the Bahamian people on the rising numbers of COVID-19 once again, adding that the government hasn't done enough to provide public education and sanitizing material to assist Bahamians against the virus. The party's also questioning the government's current domestic travel policy to Grand Bahama and Abaco. Davis says the opposition is awaiting the consultation meeting with Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization tomorrow and is expecting to be extended the opportunity to be fully engaged in the discussion. The government and healthcare workers have not thrown up their hands when it comes to dealing with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. These are the sentiments of Minister of Health Renward Wells when faced with questions about whether the healthcare team had taken a, quote, whatever happens, happens attitude when it comes to the virus. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan contends that COVID-19 is something that no one has experienced before. Mr. Wells contends that as it stands, the Bahamas government is putting in the requisite funding and personnel to handle the COVID-19 pandemic, and that the government and the Bahamian people are partners when it comes to the pandemic. He contends that the Bahamian people must do their part in this fight. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.